we? That's your top 10. Look at Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello. Two of the fast cars that you would say were slightly out of position here this weekend. Once again, Ferrari's problems in qualifying coming through. They just cannot get the grip on a single lap. And it's hurt them here again at Monte Carlo. But I think everybody's expecting them to come through the field. So Coulthard, Heidfeld and Trulli, and indeed Fisichella, I think going to have an interesting afternoon as well. Going through to the second half of the grid. The best qualifying of the season for the two Minardis. Look at that, Frisacker and Albers, 13th and 14th. Montoya and Ralf Schumacher at the back of the grid. Montoya caused an avoidable accident in free practice, which involved David Coulthard, Ralf Schumacher and Jacques Villeneuve, and the stewards penalised him by pushing him to the back of the grid. And Carter Kayan and Ralf Schumacher are behind him because they've changed engines. So no time for Montoya, and the engine penalties for the other two. Fired it up and laid a big trail of rubber. That'll give him a bit of extra bite off the start line, won't it? We've seen the lead change and the front two rows get jumped here in the past. Your teammate Takuma Sato made an absolute blinder last year, didn't he? Here for Jensen into the first corner.
Yeah, he did. It's such an important first corner here. If you can get a good start, I mean, you know, you're made until you get to the pit stops. I mean, the regulations changed so late last year that a lot of the teams weren't able to change their tanks. But yeah, I think the McLaren should be all right for fuel for one stop.
Taking some breathing and that kind of stuff. What do you?
I'm normally really relaxed at this point. You know, we've really got to concentrate on getting heat into the tyres, the brakes. The tyres this year, because we're only running one set, it's harder to get more heat into the tyres.
Engines are cooking at this point. Just the temperature sailing skywards. Must seem an eternity.
The Monaco Grand Prix begins now! Good start by Räikkönen. Alonso not so well away, but he's fighting him. He's looked on the inside and on the outside. Fisichella has jumped Webber, and so has Trulli. The two Williams are side by side up the hill. A terrible start for Mark Webber, but that's great news for Fisichella. Everyone follows through. It looks like they've all got through cleanly as they go up for the first time towards Casino Square. Räikkönen leads.
Intelligent driving going in. Everybody realises you can only lose the race on the first corner, you can't win it. But Alonso did his best, didn't he, to find a way through. Räikkönen had him covered, Jensen. Yeah,
I mean, the start of the Renault has always been very strong, but the McLaren looks like it's very close now. As you said, the big loser was Webber. I mean, that was astonishing how many places he lost there. 2 places.
Yeah, he's gone down to 5th place. Räikkönen leads, Alonso 2nd, Fisichella 3rd, Trulli 4th, Webber 5th. Heidfeld is 6th, 7th is Coulthard. That's where he started. 8th is Michael Schumacher. Massa is 9th. He's got ahead of Barrichello, who has also had a very poor opening lap, Rubens Barrichello. He has gone from 10th down to 11th, dropping a place. Villeneuve is on the move as well.
On this sort of circuit, sort of Imola as well, when there's a lot of reasonably slow speed corners, they do seem to struggle a little bit in the race.
Now, keeping a concentration around here for 78 laps, an hour and 40 minutes is so hard, isn't it?
There's the old Lowe's Hotel. Used to be called Station Hairpin. Great pictures of Stirling Moss in the past. All the greats have driven here in the past, and now we've got some real greats on the streets of Monte Carlo. Kimi Räikkönen leads by 2 seconds from Fernando Alonso, who is not letting him get away here. Fisichella's 3rd, Trulli's 4th, Webber's 5th, Heidfeld is in 6th place. So still riding on board here with Ralf Schumacher, Albers at 16th, Montero and Carter Kayan. The two Jordans off the pace here this weekend of the Minardis, and so far all 18 still running.
Montoya's in that 7/10 of a second dirty air zone, but he's not exactly really hustling Barrichello in the way that I thought he might.
I mean, the problem is, as you said, you know, there's a long race, and if he pushes that car too hard while he's in the dirty air, he's going to lose grip, and that means locking tyres, and you don't want that for the whole race here, because when you've got a tyre that's got a flat spot, you know, you're going crazy because you can't see.
Tremendous scrap going on between Ralf Schumacher and Frisacker. Ralf Schumacher starting to get a little bit impatient. They've just gone whistling past us in the commentary box, and I have a feeling that Ralph's going to have a go quite soon. Lap 9 of the Monaco Grand Prix. James Allen, Martin Brundle and Jenson Button with you in the commentary box. That's just a little slow-mo of Alonso trying to keep hold of Kimi Räikkönen, your race leader. He has stretched the margin out to 2.9 seconds. He had a couple of modest laps, did Räikkönen. It looked like he was driving just to maintain the margin, just to look after his tyres a little bit. Nothing like a repeat of Barcelona where he simply drove away. Got to within 9/10 of a second of Coulthard as Michael Schumacher. Räikkönen, obviously some sort of issue there, possibly a problem with one of his tyres. Didn't really see the beginning of that pit stop, but that's a little bit early, lap 12, to be making a stop. Räikkönen, who had to take an engine change going into the qualifying session, so pushing him to the back of the grid, but they really have been outpaced this weekend by Minardi anyway. A lot of stories swimming around the paddock that Eddie Irvine is trying to put a consortium together to buy the Jordan team off Alex Schneider, who himself only bought it off Eddie Jordan just a few months ago before the start of this season. So certainly the Jordan motorhome has been the centre of a lot of activity. Räikkönen back into the pits, whatever the problem was, it's not going away for the Indian driver. First time he's ever been to Monaco in any kind of racing car. All the rest of the rookies have been here in some form of Formula 3 or 3000 before, so a big disadvantage for him, but looked like it might have been something to do with the electronics on the steering wheel.
Yeah, when we're at speed, it's not such an issue. You know, we're doing about 160 miles an hour through there, 170, and it's fine when you've got so much downforce on the car, but it's when you slow down that you really do find a few issues.
Räikkönen pulling in. We're hearing from the pits he might have broken a front track rod, so obviously possibly some contact with the barrier there.
A lot more suspension travel here, Jensen. You set the cars higher and softer, presumably.
Yeah, we do run the cars a bit higher. It is a reasonably bumpy circuit. It's not as bad as you think. Oh!
Whoa! That's several car pile up here, and that's going to have an effect on the race. Michael Schumacher is involved. Look, Schumacher's on the outside, and this is going to block the racetrack. This might have to be a red flag situation, I think. Barrichello's involved, Villeneuve's involved, and that is Juan Montoya as well. So the race leader not caught up in it. Villeneuve's going to try and
just get away with it. Look, Villeneuve's going to clear the pack. The Ferrari won't have enough steering lock though to get through the gap. They'll have to pull it back. So yes, it's just clear. Michael's got away too. And Liuzzi all held up, Ralf Schumacher held up there, so an ideal time if you're anywhere near a window to come in and take some fuel.
But the race leader is nowhere near it. He's approaching the area now. He's just gone through sector 1. There is the race leader. He lost no time as a result of that. This is what happened.
At the top of the hill there, look, and that was Coulthard there getting hit by Michael. Michael's front wing is broken, so the Minardi spins in front of Coulthard. He has to slow down. And this is also then Montoya coming across the gridlock, the traffic jam, and so I wonder if there's any damage to the back of Coulthard too, but Michael will have to pit for a new nose. There he is, but under safety car conditions he's just going to lose track position rather than a lap, so unfortunately there for Michael Schumacher.
It's not been deployed yet, the safety car. It's just standing by, so we're not under safety car conditions yet. It's just on standby. Everyone else is still racing. Räikkönen is certainly travelling at racing speeds around there.
It's deployed now. Good point though, you were right, James, but it is now deployed. So Michael effectively cruising in under race conditions, under green flag conditions.
Yeah, I think we're going to see now who's doing 2 stops, because if people pit, they're definitely going to be doing 2 stops. Räikkönen, I think he'll probably stay out because it's too early to stick the fuel in the tank to carry him to the end of the race, I'd say.
It is, isn't it? It's not quite. They needed another 5-7 laps, didn't they? Probably they're short of the window. Who has pitted? Michael Schumacher has pitted. So has David Coulthard, and Coulthard is going very slowly, and so let's hope there's not a problem with the back of that car after Michael ran in. So is Alonso, Fisichella, the 2 stoppers then have used the opportunity. Ted has further news.
That's right, and they're queuing the Renaults, so it was Fisichella in first, and Alonso has to queue up. Actually, it's the other way around. Alonso in first, Fisichella now in the box. The Williams are spaced out enough that one of the cars is in now, but I'm afraid to say right in front of me, the Red Bull of David Coulthard has turned off his engine. I think has got a problem with the rear suspension or the rear of the car. They're just having a look at it now.
Well, we saw him getting hit by Michael Schumacher. It was Patrick Friesacker who spun up at the Mirabeau corner that caused all this trouble, and once again Coulthard has lost out as a result of someone else's accident for the second time this weekend. What a shame for him. He's been driving so well here this weekend. You can see the Stormtrooper Star Wars theme helmets on the Red Bull, but it's no laughing matter this for Coulthard. He came here looking for points. He's going to go away empty-handed.
It's really disappointing for DC. He's done a great job this weekend. Obviously, watching everything that's gone on in practice. He's been on it all weekend and done a fantastic job. So, very disappointing.
Yeah, and I would imagine it's the rear crash structure where the rear wishbones feed into, or even the rear wing upright probably that's been damaged, and that's like a half an hour's work, isn't it?
Well, it might have hit him even harder and damaged the gearbox, because he seemed to be struggling coming into the pits there.
Yeah. Although he was moving his hand about as much to say there's something loose, and that's when we cut to him, and suitably disappointed.
We are racing again in Monte Carlo, Mr. Director. Let's have a look at it, because Räikkönen leads up the hill out of Sandivot, and well, Michael Schumacher is behind him in the train, but that's the guy. There's Trulli in second place. Alonso you saw flashing through the frame as well. Webber, that's Massa sixth place, Villeneuve seventh. So Michael Schumacher is between the Trulli-Alonso gang and the race leader. That's a bit of a breather for Räikkönen, isn't it? He's got a few cars, including, I think, a Minardi. Yeah, there's a Minardi between. He's going to have to get out of the way pretty smartish. That's Trulli, that's Alonso, that's Webber, and that's Heidfeld.
Well, Trulli and Alonso are the very best of friends, especially for Grand Prix drivers, but he's not going to be cutting him any slack here at all. Alonso's got to keep his head here, hasn't he, Jensen? It'd be easy to make a very rash move, because Räikkönen's disappearing down the road. He's got a lapped Ferrari and a slow Minardi. In fact, I think they've just made it past the Minardi now.
Yeah, it's a difficult situation. You have to really be on it, because there might be an opportunity, but you don't want to go too crazy. And you know, if you touch the car in front or the barrier, that's it around here.
Right, best case scenario for Räikkönen then, because Alonso's getting held up wickedly on this lap, so it is playing into his hands.
He certainly is. There's a Minardi and a Ferrari. Michael Schumacher still feeling the balance of that car, having changed the nose on the pit stop a moment ago. What kind of margin has Räikkönen already got over Trulli? 5.6 seconds in one lap alone, so he's certainly well on his way to buying himself that cushion that he needs.
And look at Alonso under pressure, so whether he's made a mistake or just struggling with a fresh fuel load and the same tyres to just get some grip, but Alonso, instead of being all over the back of Trulli, he's under pressure himself. Don't know what went on there. Maybe we'll see a replay of a mistake, or he's just struggling to find grip.
On the restart, it's always very difficult when you've got cold tyres anyway. This year, because the tyres are a little bit harder, it's difficult to get heat into them.
We were full tanks and looking very good. No reason to expect anything other than we would have got in front of the Williams, because we would only drop 6 seconds in 20 laps, and we were going well over lap 40.
You had it all under control until then. Where do you think you would ultimately have aimed up if you finished the race?
Well, I'm not too sure how far Mark would down the road, but certainly in front of Nick. And who knows? Yeah, to say we were brimmed, so we were going all the way to maximum capacity, and we've every reason to believe that we can go as long as anyone, if not the longest.
Thanks, David.
Well, that's a big shunt there for Frisacker, who has lost it where you lost it, really, a few years ago, Jensen. And he didn't hit anything quite as hard as you did, though.
No, I think he's braked a little bit earlier there, lost it earlier, hit the inside wall, exactly the same as what I did. But the barrier's moved back now, because that would have been a much bigger impact. Well, obviously there wasn't a second impact like me in 2003.
Räikkönen is due a fuel stop. McLaren mechanics are out in the pit lane, ready for their man, so I think the race leader might be coming in any time. There's Ralf Schumacher. He has just made his first stop, probably the only stop of the afternoon. There is the race leader then, Kimi Räikkönen, into the pits. 34-second lead, Ted Kravitz.
His tyres look in great condition. They're just clearing some of the rubbish out of the radiators. He's happy with the balance. They're not making any change to the fuel pressures. And there we go. That's a good stop by McLaren for Räikkönen.
He'll be easily in the lead, maintain his lead, because Alonso's pace has just disappeared somewhere. He's had no chance since he stopped after that safety car thing. We have had a Minardi crash, and there must have been a lot of debris over the racetrack, so hopefully we're not seeing early signs of slow punctures or something, but a lot of confidence is going to stick.
Well, undoubtedly Alonso has faced some challenges and some pressures throughout this season. He's driven absolutely magnificently to win Grand Prix under some intense pressure, particularly from Michael Schumacher. Here, as at Barcelona a couple of weeks ago, Räikkönen has driven away from him. Helped a little bit, it has to be said, by a safety car, but also this phase of the race, Räikkönen has got so much more pace than Alonso. Räikkönen's just eased off now onto Alonso's pace. He's lapping in the low 1:18s now that he's taken his fuel on board. And, well, Alonso, I think, sitting on a 27-point cushion over Räikkönen in the World Championship, will be thinking, well, if he wins this, he's taken 2 more off me. But really, it's the best I can do today, maybe just to keep Webber behind me at this stage.
Is this Michael having a go at Ralph and missing the apex, missing the chicane, and only just missing his brother? That won't be the first time they've run into each other either.
Now, they've managed to avoid each other for a year or two now, but high-profile accidents certainly throughout both of their histories. And quite often, Michael seems to find himself tucked up behind his brother, who early on in his career had a bit of a reputation for making it easy for him, but he certainly hasn't done that in recent times. Villeneuve then, Ralf Schumacher, Michael Schumacher, and these three separated by just a few car lengths, but Michael certainly looking to try and make a move. Ralf Schumacher lapping in the high 1:18s, and that's a similar pace to everybody in front of him, so certainly not holding anybody up here.
With Michael running wide earlier, as we just saw behind Ralph, he had to take the chance, he had to take the opportunity, because they don't come around very often. It didn't come off, but he had to try.
Sometimes, though, you go in there with a big commit to overtake, and there's no going back, is there? You're sailing in, and you just got to hope they see you, which is virtually impossible, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's not in a point-scoring position at the moment, so he's going to try everything he can.
Well, amazingly, as we have only just 23 laps to go of this usually highly attritional Grand Prix, only 3 retirements: Frisacker, Coulthard, and Kartikeyan. So. A lot of effort and a lot of driving for these guys, with no points on the horizon at the moment. I wonder whether that was the result of some sort of contact with the world champion. Hopefully we'll get a chance to see what caused that. Ted Kravitz, what can you tell us?
Well, he's coming down the pit lane. They're very late with any tyres. I'm trying to see if they're bringing out a tyre. Yes, they are. Finally. Oh, he's made a right mess of that right rear. Oh, it's broken a part of the floor, and the wing's slightly damaged, but they should be able to... No, it's finished. Sorry, Tonio. Yeah, the whole suspension's gone. He's out.
Double retirement for Red Bull Racing. It's been such a strong start to the season for them, generally speaking, but it's not worked out for them here in Monaco. What a shame, because they looked so competitive early on. But just look at this scrap here.
They're all queued up behind Fisichella, the other Renault, struggling for pace as well. Alonso's now into the 122s. That's how slow he's going. He'll have Heidfeld all over the back of him. We've got uninterrupted coverage to the end of this Grand Prix, and it's absolutely coming alive now as they're running out of tyres. Will they run out of patience in this pack that stretches all the way back from 6th to 12th?
Yep, on board with Montoya. That's Jarno Trulli in 6th place ahead. Ahead of him is Giancarlo Fisichella.
Look at this, Montoya having a go then at Jarno Trulli. So suddenly, and oh!
Yeah, that was Villeneuve and Massa. Looked like Villeneuve had a run at Massa because Massa was in front of him. It looked like they both went straight on, and that allowed Ralf Schumacher and Barrichello through. There goes Massa. Villeneuve
noses off the Villeneuve car. Yeah. And that looked way too hot into there. Look, indeed, Villeneuve on the very dirty piece of track. He's like, uh-oh.
It wasn't even heading for the apex. It was going inside.
No, straight in. Whoops. He'll not be popular for that one, because that's taken Massa out of that train of cars.
Well, more importantly, taking him out of the points-paying position that he was in 8th place. And Peter Sauber, who will not be very impressed with that. It's the one rule, golden rule, isn't it? And let's have a look again at what happened. Watch out for Trulli in the Toyota.
Trulli's gone in deep. Right, Fisichella tries to cut across, but left him enough space. But Trulli just bumped across the curb. Didn't actually quite need to do that. Easy to say from here. And we're going to see that from Montoya's car. And it wouldn't surprise me, Jensen, he hasn't broken certain element of the suspension.
Yeah, you can tell by the way he's driving around now. I mean, he's really struggling. Look at that.
Yeah, it's probably a tie rod on the rear tie rod or something like that, or even push rod has gone, and he's just couldn't. It just moves all the way onto 3 wheels.
Yeah.
And oh, look at that! He just left Montoya, and very brave from Montoya to hang on in there.
The good thing is that he had a go. I mean that could have been an amazing move around Monaco, most difficult place to pass, but it just didn't quite go his way.
And if you look at Fisichella's left rear, it's actually heavily blistered now. As well as badly worn, so Alonso must be struggling like crazy up front. Räikkönen leads by 32 seconds from Alonso, who's half second ahead of Heidfeld. who's half second ahead of Webber. And now this next pack, Montoya, Ralf Schumacher up to 6th, Barrichello 7th, Michael Schumacher 8th, both Ferraris amazingly in the points. And how that Sauber mistake is going to be paid for later on, isn't it, in terms of lost points? Yeah, but Webber made a specific effort to get back and maintain the racetrack. Alonso absolutely did not.
Yeah, Alonso won't let him past. You know, he'll wait to the end of the race, see what happens.
He'll certainly be waiting to be told. Here it is again, you see. Alonso makes no effort, really, to try and turn through the chicane. Webber did, at least, as you say, try and get through.
Renault have to tell him to let him back through, in my view.
Yeah, looking at it again, yeah, you're right.
Because Mark made a perfectly reasonable effort, and he just, and hopefully hasn't damaged the under tray of the car. And their faces will change in a minute when they see Alonso back in front. But let's hope they don't end up damaging each other's cars in the meanwhile.
He's certainly going to make him work for it, is Fernando Alonso. Stewards bound to be looking at this. Nothing on the computer at the moment from race control telling us that the stewards are looking at that.
It interests me what you say, Jensen. You know, maybe Fernando can say, I had no option but to go down there. And this time, and he's going to do it again. And he has to just yield now. He has to yield.
No, but Webber went off the circuit, so Webber's got to yield.
So Kimi Räikkönen comes through out of the final corner. 2 in a row for the Finn. Another dominant victory. And Kimi Räikkönen wins on the streets of Monte Carlo. But who's going to be 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th? That's the big question. There then is confirmation of the result. Massa missing out on points. And just finishing in 9th place, Trulli 10th after his incident. When he ran it up the inside of Fisichella into the hairpin to try and get that 5th place. And it didn't work out for him, did it? There you can see the rest of the runners. Only 4 not classified. Liuzzi, we saw he had a problem with his right rear corner tyre. Friesacker, he had a crash on the exit of the tunnel. Coulthard was hit by Michael Schumacher. And Carter Cahen we saw early on with a variety of different problems in the Jordan.